Right. Moving on to the blockbuster event of the night, it's Iran versus Iraq. There's a lot to unpack here. They're footballing rivals. They're two of the powerhouse teams in Asia today in football. What's your take on Iran versus Iraq?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Where do we begin? Because it's such a blockbuster, like you said. This, we should be paying money to go to the cinema to watch this on a big screen because this is going to be amazing. I think you summed it all perfectly, Bon. I mean, it's a blockbuster. The rivals in so many facets. They're both two very good teams. I think that's the most important thing I'm looking forward to is because put aside the rivalry, these are two teams that should be qualifying for the next round easily, if not the World Cup as a whole. But only one will be guaranteed after tonight's game. So there's the element of risk. Who could potentially miss. So I still hope both of them. The one of them, whoever finishes second, makes it through as the one of the four best runners up. But that's anything could happen. So the only way to guarantee that you're not going to be in the situation is by winning and taking top spot. And what I really like is there's so much quality on offer. You look at the Iraq team. You have players that have European experience. You have Ali Adnan, who was one of the best defenders in the Syria for a point in time. There's just talent there. Mohana Ali coming up as a youngster. There's just so much quality in Iraq, and yet they are probably the underdogs in this one, despite also being on top. So that just tells you how good Iran are, and also how, I guess, unconvincing their campaign has been so far. I mean, to be beating Cambodia 14-0 and then to go on and draw or lose a game after that, just been quite topsy-turvy for Iran. But then you look at the side, they have Mehdi Taremi and Sada Asmun should be leading the line tonight. Well, both are leading scorers for Zenit St. Petersburg and Porto in two of the biggest leagues in Europe. So when you have two strikers like that, you should be beating anyone in the Asian World Cup qualifiers, let alone Iraq or whoever. So all in all, so much quality on offer. Can't wait for this one.
All right, so we know how great this Iran side can be and how much they can achieve, looking at what the run they had at the last World Cup. So, what do you think the ceiling for this team potentially is?
I think it's huge, one. We've seen we've talked about the quality. We've seen how good some of these players are. Um, in a way, I don't like to keep throwing up a term "golden generation," but this is a side that they can be very thankful that all these players are coming through at the moment. I think previously we've seen Iran with the great Ali Dais, Ali Karimis. They did amazing things as well, but there was always only maybe 3 or 4 of them at the top level that were playing in Europe to lead the national team. I think right now you look at this Iran side all over the park, from in goal with Ali Reza Barenben to up front with Asmun and Taremi. In midfield you have Syed Ezatullahi. Even in defense, 4 or 5 of them are all playing in Europe. So it's either a golden generation or Iran are just doing a mighty good job in improving their youth development, so that now almost every other player in that team is really making a name for themselves and getting an opportunity to play in Europe. So either way, Iran are doing a fantastic job. The quality has always been there, as we've seen from past results, but now they seem to be taking it the next step. And like you mentioned, that last World Cup, to draw 1-1 with Portugal, even almost beating Portugal. I think it was Ezatullahi who had a goal disallowed. Losing 1-0 to Spain, beating Morocco. That was an amazing display from Iran. And all in all, that was a great example for other teams to follow. Now we look back at the World Cup, so Saudi Arabia beat in a dead rubber, no doubt. They beat Egypt side that had Mohamed Salah. So there were results from that past World Cup that have shown what the ceiling is for Asian teams, including Iran. And hopefully we start seeing all these teams continue to take the next step forward at the next World Cup, because the potential is there, like we mentioned.
It sounds like the sky's the limit for this Iranian side. So I'm guessing that you're favoring Iran over Iraq tonight.
I am. I like both teams. I just think Iran have that extra bit of quality, like I mentioned. When you have, I think Sada Asmun and Taremi are both. I'm quite. If I don't recall wrongly, they were among the top scorers in both the Portuguese and Russian league. So when you have talent like that, you can't look past it. Having said that, I will not be surprised if Iraq pull off an upset. Again, why am I calling it an upset? Because they are the team on top of the table at the moment. But that's just how much Iran are fancied as a stronger team. So it wouldn't be a complete shock. I think Iraq have shown not only their ability, but they have a nice habit of showing up on the big occasions and causing 1 or 2 upsets. So I won't be surprised if they do pull that off. But I still think Iran, if they don't do any of those slip ups like you mentioned. Get overconfident. It should be fairly straightforward for them.
Sounds like a win for Iran tonight.